Good morning. First and foremost, our hearts break once again for the people of San Bernardino. Yesterday there was a horrific school shooting, and it was not your typical school shooting. It was not a kid that was bullied and stormed the school with a gun. It was basically a pissed off husband gunning for his wife, his estranged wife. And the saddest part of this story is, yeah, he walked right through. He walked into the school, said he had something to give to his wife, was given a visitor's pass, and walked right in. Walked right in. Walked to her classroom, shot her dead in front of her students. And by the way, whether it was an accident, whatever, it doesn't seem he was intending to shoot the students, but he ended up taking out an 8-year-old. That 8-year-old is dead and will never grow up. And he also took out a 9-year-old who is thankfully in stable condition and will hopefully survive. Now, what does this have to do with the friendly skies or not so friendly skies? Well, actually, it has a lot to do with my show today because this man who was pissed off at his wife, it was easier for him to walk into a public school with a weapon than it now is for me to get on a plane and fly somewhere domestically. And this story came to me earlier this week from my god sister, Tara. Thank you, Tara. Apparently, because I live in Pennsylvania, I now may need a passport to get on a plane and fly to Florida or Myrtle Beach or Los Angeles. Yeah, domestic travel. And the reason I may need a passport for this is because my state is one of the few states that for some bizarre reason our driver's licenses do not comply with something called Real ID. And I don't know what that means. It has not been explained to me. But it was interesting because a week ago I had dinner with my mother and father-in-law, and they were talking about they were getting their passports because they're going on a cruise. But then this comment came out from my mother-in-law saying, well, you guys are going to need passports too. And I'm like, why? We're not leaving the country. Oh, no, you're going to need them. And here she was right. I thought she was confused, but she was right. And this to me is ridiculous that Pennsylvania residents are rushing to the post office and applying for $110 passports because the state will not simply change our driver's licenses to comply with the national standard to travel with a driver's license on a plane domestically. I find this completely appalling. I find it ridiculous, and I'm certainly not going to do it. I'm not getting a passport. Every 4 years, I answer the cattle call where I have to send the state of Pennsylvania $26 to renew my driver's license that I have had since I'm 16. I'm now 52. And every 4 years, I have to go into the DMV and get my picture taken. And sometimes if I don't get there early enough, I have to sit around and wait and wait and wait. And if I don't get my picture taken, I don't get my driver's license. So I follow that rule. But when I get that driver's license, that is my ID. It is what I use to buy alcohol, to get cigarettes, to vote. If it's okay for all those things, then it sure as hell is okay to get me on a commercial airliner to travel in the United States of America. And if it's not, then that's the state's issue, and the state needs to fix it. I don't need to run to the post office. And by the way, the rules for passports have changed as well. And I looked at these rules, and it's interesting to me, and I wonder how many people are going to start screaming discrimination. Because here's what you must have to get a passport in America. You have to have a birth certificate with a raised seal. That's fine. That was always the law. But now you must have both your mother and your father's name on that birth certificate. And my first question was, what about children whose mommy maybe doesn't know who the daddy is and there is no father listed on the birth certificate? What about children of gay couples who were conceived through a sperm donor, an anonymous sperm donor? What about single women who get themselves impregnated in vitro with a sperm donor? There is no father on the birth certificate. So my question is, do those people not get passports because they don't know who their daddy is? That sounds like discrimination to me. So we'll see what happens with that. But again, I am not getting a passport. But what scares me about this whole issue is that I'm wondering if this is a precursor to us turning into some of the European countries and the Middle Eastern countries where there are border patrols on the state lines in America, where if I want to go to my beach house in Maryland, I'm going to have to present my papers at the border between Pennsylvania and Maryland. If I am driving in my personally owned vehicle, am I going to be stopped at the border of every state and asked for papers? Papers! We need your papers! That would be very uncool. But it sounds to me that if they're trying to get every American citizen, especially in certain states like Pennsylvania, to get passports in order to get on a plane, even if they're simply flying from Philadelphia to Myrtle Beach, which is basically an hour flight, or from Philadelphia to Boston, which is 45 minutes. If I need a passport to do that, simply because I live in Pennsylvania, that's a problem for me. It's a real problem. And I'm wondering if, because back in 2006, when my husband and I went to Jamaica, we did not need passports. But in 2007, thanks to George W. Bush, we do now need passports. The only place Americans don't need passports to travel to is Puerto Rico and the United States Virgin Islands, the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John. Unless, of course, you live in Pennsylvania, then you may need a passport to travel to those places because they won't let you on the plane. So that's something I'm going to be watching very carefully. I'm not getting a passport, by the way, unless Donald Trump gets our country bombed or we start a war with someone that I'm afraid to live here, then I will get a passport and move to Canada. But I'm hoping that won't be necessary. But I am not going to get a passport because, first of all, I rarely fly. And after the next story that I'm about to tell you, I probably am never going to fly again because of this story. But I am not going to pay $110 for a passport, considering the fact that the last time my husband and I were on a plane together was 2006, which was 11 years ago. And the last time I was on a plane was in 2007, which was 10 years ago. So I'm not paying $110 for a passport. I'm not going to jump through their hoops. I'm not going to grab my birth certificate and run to the post office. I'm not doing it. So fuck them. If I have to take a train or drive or hire an Uber, I will hire an Uber. The only thing I pray is that if I hire an Uber to drive me out of state, that I can pay extra and have a smoking Uber that I can smoke when I'm in the back seat of the car. That, because I think the Uber driver would get really pissed if every half hour I say, pull over, I need a cigarette. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm not planning any trips anytime soon, but I'm definitely not getting a passport because my state refuses to comply with the national standards of what an ID should look like. If a person from Massachusetts or New York, if their driver's license works on a plane, then my driver's license from PA should work on that plane. And if it doesn't, that isn't my fault. And I'm not going to be charged for it. So, that brings me to our big story. Did you all see the video? I think you did from the promo comments I got. Yeah. Bumping, which airlines do, by the way. They overbook their flights on purpose because they assume that someone's either going to miss the flight or cancel at the last minute, and they want a full plane. That's great. So they have the right to bump you, but technically bumping is supposed to be voluntary. Like, look, do you want a voucher for a free flight in the future? Do you want $1,300? Voluntarily leave the plane and we'll give you all this good stuff. Sometimes you are asked to voluntarily get bumped because, God forbid, there's a child that is on their way to another state for life-saving surgery. That's a good reason to bump somebody. There are many people I know, not me, because when I buy a seat on a plane, I am sitting in that seat and I'm going where I'm going because I'm looking forward to where I'm going. I buy tickets to go to vacation and I don't have time to be bumped or have my plane delayed because I want to start my vacation. But there are good people in this world that would say, hey, the child's sick, they need to get where they're going, give me the money, they can have my seat. that wasn't what happened to this 69-year-old man. And we're not sure yet. He said he was a doctor. We're not sure if he's a doctor because after they roughed him up to get him off the plane, he was a little disoriented. So he didn't know where he was. He had to go to the hospital for treatment. Because what happened was 4 United Airlines employees wanted 4 seats on the plane from Chicago to Louisville. I think Louisville's in Kentucky. I personally would never go there on purpose, but these 4 airline employees needed to be there. And they needed to be there so badly that the airline said, we need 4 people on this plane who paid for your tickets, paid for your seats, to give your seats up to our employees who don't pay for their seats. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Because I know this for a fact, because I actually am friends with some airline employees. Actually, they are former airline employees who still get this privilege of free flights anytime they feel like it. And they can bump you. They can bump you. You paid for your ticket. You scheduled a year in advance. You bought your tickets. You planned your vacation. You took off work. You're on the plane. And then, lo and behold, an airline employee wants to be on this plane. Because they want to go where you're going. And guess what? They get to bump you. The airline employees. So 4 airline employees. So nobody raised their hand. Everybody said, for some bizarre reason, we need to get to Louisville. So they did, okay, well, fuck you. Our employees come first for their free seats. We are going to randomly choose 4 of you. 4 people. So they picked one couple, and that couple said, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to get off the plane. But this man said, I'm not giving up my seat. He was picked randomly. Sir, our employees need these seats. You need to get off the plane. He said, fuck you. I'm not getting off the plane. And what happened next? And thank God for cell phones in America. Because nobody on this plane was afraid. They weren't afraid that there was a terrorist on board. They didn't call 911. But as you can see in the video when you watch it, please go and watch it. It's all over. It's all over the internet. Immediately, people started taking out their cell phones, turning their cameras on, and hitting record. Because security came on that plane and physically pulled this man out of his seat, made him hit his head on the headrest, and dragged him down the aisle. His shirt came up over his head. He's bloody. He's being dragged off the plane. Because a United Airline employee wanted his seat. And they come first. They come before customers. This infuriates me. And then the CEO of United Airlines says, well, we're going to compensate him. We're going to give him $1,300. Oh, no. See, you're probably going to give him $13 million. Because I hope, and God, I wish I had gone to law school because I would be finding this man right now. This would be a case I would take pro bono. I wouldn't even charge the dude. Just please, let's get this into court. And no sealed document, no undisclosed settlement. No. You will write a public apology to this man, which he will read on CNN and the Today Show, and you will write him not thousands. You're going to write him a check with lots of zeros after that $1,300. There's going to be millions involved. You do not treat a paying customer like this. And I am so sick and tired because yesterday, and you know some of you thought I was nuts, but I spent all day yesterday demanding a refund for a product that I purchased for $9.99 that was charged to my credit card, but I did not get what I paid for on a video game on Google Play, and it's called Cooking Dash 2016. And the funny thing was, later in the day, but this was at 6 o'clock in the morning, I went on Cooking Dash 2016. I had internet. The internet bars were high, completely full. I was able to be on Facebook and send my friends gifts. I was able to accept the gifts my friends sent to me on this game. I was able to hit buy for the $9.99 merchandise. I got a thing, payment successful. I got the bell ringing. Your merchandise is being delivered, and then bam, you have no internet. Well, bullshit, because I did have internet. And in fact, as soon as they said that, I went on I went browsing on my tablet and I went on the internet. I had internet. So this game, Cooking Dash 2016, basically screwed me out of $10, and I wasn't going to let that stand. So I emailed them, no response. I emailed Google, no response. And then I found this amazing thing that you can request that Google call you. And I got to talk to a lovely woman named Frankie. She's in the Philippines, and she spoke beautiful English, by the way. And I told her what happened. And it took me till 3 o'clock in the afternoon to get Frankie on the phone. And guess what? Ma'am, I'm going to refund your $9.99 immediately. No, you do not have to pay for something you didn't get delivered. Now, some people would have said it's $10. Let it go. No, I'm not going to let it go. Not only because this game is the most expensive game I have ever played from a Google Play app. It's so expensive. It's basically a mortgage payment if you want to enjoy it. Everything costs lots and lots of real money. But it's also the principle, is because I am tired of paying for something and not getting what I'm paying for. And I live with this all summer at the Bay. I'm getting ready right now to go to the Bay, and I know damn well right I better take a lot of DVDs with me. Because if it rains, if the wind blows, if a drunk knocks over one of the boxes that supply us with our TV, I will turn on my TV and get a blank screen. And I hate it, and I have been told there's nothing I can do about it because they are the only game in town. They are the only television company that the park at Buttonwood Beach offers to us. They won't even envision going anywhere else. And these people are in New Jersey. They're nice people. I've spoken to them many times in the last 11 years. But they cannot provide the quality of service that I believe I deserve for what I pay them. And I don't pay them a lot. I pay them about $250, but it goes up every year. I think last year it was $252 or $255 for the season. But that season is basically a weekly outage of something. There's at least 1, 2, sometimes 5 channels that just black out for no reason. And sometimes it takes them 5 days to fix it. So I'm very used to not getting what I pay for. Okay? And it pisses me off. Makes me very angry. I am going to the dentist very shortly. And I'm very uncomfortable going to the dentist because I usually ask for the 7 o'clock appointment, the first appointment of the day. And the fact that I couldn't get first appointment of the day makes me nervous. Because I have a really bad feeling I'm going to be stuck sitting in their waiting room because like airlines, medical practices, dental practices overbook. Because they have a daily quota. They want to make money, and they know that sometimes people cancel. And just like the airlines, if you overbook, you assume someone's going to cancel an appointment. If they don't cancel, that means there are 3 people sitting in your waiting room all with the same appointment. 10:30 or 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock. And what happens is 2 of those people are going to be sitting in the waiting room for a while. That's why you wait, because just like the airlines, medical practices overbook to make sure they see their quota of patients and make money. The airlines do the same thing. They overbook their flights. Here's my problem with this whole airline brouhaha is, first of all, and again, I know this is true because I have friends who used to work for the airline, and even after, now, look, airline employees go through a lot of shit. They do. First of all, they're in danger. Planes crash, terrorists, they have a hard job. But they've lost, since deregulation happened in about 20 years ago, they have lost their benefits, they've lost their retirement. But what they have not lost is their frequent flyer miles. And they do basically, if I'm going on a vacation, okay, I will call the airline 6 months in advance. I'll tell my boss I want a week off work this week. And I'm going to the airport. I have a ticket. I have paid for a seat. An employee of that airline can technically call the airline at 7 o'clock at night and say, at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, I want a seat on the plane going to Jamaica. And if I have a seat on that plane going to Jamaica, Well, guess who's going to get bumped? Not the airline. The airline employee will get their seat. They will get to Jamaica, and they've only given 12 hours notice that they need to be in Jamaica. And I have planned for going to Jamaica for a year. I have taken off work. I have a reservation at a hotel I'm paying per night for. And I'm going to get kicked off that plane. So the airline employee who decided at the last minute, I feel like going to Jamaica today, they can get my seat. And it's perfectly legal. And it shouldn't be. And I'll tell you what, this is another reason why I don't fly, because Political Paula has never been arrested. But Political Paula will for sure be arrested if I am on my once-in-a-lifetime vacation. Basically, again, I've told you, I don't go on vacation much. I don't fly. I haven't flown for 10 years. If I put my ass on a plane, no airline employee is going to throw me off of it. So I will get arrested because fuck you, I'm not getting off this plane. This is my seat. I paid for it. If your airline employee needs to get to Jamaica so bad, they can take another flight. They can be inconvenienced because they didn't pay. I did. And customers are supposed to always be right until we're not. And then like this poor gentleman in Chicago, we can be beaten up. We can be physically assaulted for refusing to give up something that we paid for that is actually ours, to give it to somebody who didn't pay for it and just thinks they're entitled to it. Wow. Wow. So, this is why I don't fly. And I guess now, again, if I don't get a passport, because I live in Pennsylvania, I can't fly. I'm on the no-fly list. And look at me, I'm not a criminal. Never been charged with a crime. Don't carry a gun. How sad. How sad that someone actually carrying a gun was able to just walk into a school and to kill his ex-wife and ended up killing an innocent young 8-year-old who now will never grow up, never have a family of his own, graduate high school, graduate college, because this dude was pissed at his wife. And she just happened to be at work that day. See, she was hiding from him, so he knew she'd be at school. And whoever let him into the school, well, I hope they are feeling really bad today, because they just cost an 8-year-old his life. And I'm glad the son of a bitch killed himself, because I certainly wouldn't want to look at him at a trial or see his face. In fact, I won't mention his name. I don't even know his name. I don't care who he is. He's a monster. Another one with a gun in a school. And this time he was invited in. So for the people in San Bernardino, Political Paula is thinking of you. We are all thinking of you. All of your children were traumatized, even those who were not injured. Because when you see your teacher shot in front of you and you run for your life, and then your school is evacuated, every child in that school is going to be affected by what happened. Just because this guy was pissed at his wife. And the school just said, oh yeah, go on in. Something's got to change, people. Something's got to change. But again, it's every day you turn on the news and people wonder why I have meltdowns and I get so depressed. It's because it is so rare anymore that you hear good news anytime you turn on your television. And now things are trickling down. They're starting to affect me, like this ridiculous passport thing, and my driver's license isn't really a real ID, yet I'm told I have to have it for ID. I don't know. And then the fact that an airline can say, you know, we don't need you on this plane because our employees come first. They want your seat. They can have it, even though you paid for it. And we'll give you $1,300 to lose a day of your vacation, to sit in our airport. It's just not right. Customers are supposed to always be right, and customers are supposed to be treated like gold. Unless you're on an airplane or in a trailer park in Maryland trying to watch television on a daily basis, or purchasing something for $10 from a video game that you really enjoy playing. Customers aren't always right. When did that happen? Political Paula, out.